So today we're going to start the process of making tomato sauce. I am so very excited. This tomato sauce is made from last year's garden tomatoes. Here I've pulled all my tomatoes out of the freezer. I take them, I wash them, I dry them, I core them if I can, and I put them in Ziploc bags and I freeze them whole. And then you can see me, I'm a sleepyhead. I just got up and I'm laying these out. But what I'm doing is just pouring these in the roaster to thaw out where it'll catch the liquid. Now, there'll be 2 sinkfuls of tomatoes left. I wish I had counted all these tomatoes or at least weighed them because it was a lot of tomatoes. So after I filled the roaster up, you can see I still have these thawing out overnight. Look at this. It's unbelievable. And I've used a lot of tomatoes out of my freezer. Hey y'all, I'm Val with Our Forever Farm. My goodness, I'm so excited about today. So this should have been done way back in the winter, but it's the end of May and I'm just now getting my tomatoes from last year's garden out of the freezer and I'm going to get them ready to can. So this is a tomato strainer. You can do berries, you can do lots of things, and I'll show you more about that, later. I bought this years and years ago, and it works real good. For a long time, I had one, I think it was called Victoria. I think it's really the best. But this one will work fine. It has 3 strainers. Let me just go ahead and tell you that. It has a tomato strainer, a berry strainer, and a salsa strainer. So it mainly is for tomatoes. But today we're not making tomato sauce today, but we're working on tomato sauce today. This is usually a 3-day process with me. So yesterday you saw me get the frozen tomatoes out of the freezer, and you saw me put them in both sinks and this roaster. I'm gonna do this runs the pulp and the tomato juice into this side. This is what you press it down with. And it runs the seeds and the skins in this side. I was just going to peel my skins, and if you don't have anything like that, frozen tomatoes is the way to go. So freeze them, and whenever you get a chance in the winter, you can just peel that peeling right off instead of blanching them. This is the easy way, and it's also electric. My Victoria wasn't electric. I had to do the winding thing. So anyway, let me show you these tomatoes and what they look like. So here's the sink, and if you'll look, let's see, that's little tomatoes. If you will look, you'll see liquid in the bottom. We're not going to use all that liquid, and that's going to help us some. Over here, I just put the tomatoes in here. We're going to take them out first, and the liquid in the bottom we'll only use if we need it. I'm going to start with this roaster, and this is just in case you don't have a machine like I do that takes the peeling and everything off. And I want to show you how easy once these, let me get a bowl and come over here. Once these tomatoes are, and they're still partially frozen, easier if you do the core in the summer when they're fresh. But look at that peeling, how it just peels right off. This is so easy. This peeling, if you want to do it, you can dehydrate that, and I have done that many times, and you can make tomato paste out of that powder. What you do is dehydrate it, grind it up in a food processor or a blender, and it'll be powder after it's dehydrated. And then what you'll do is you will use about 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons to a little bit of water if you have something you're wanting to thicken. And so that's why I would do that. But honestly, I don't want to do it. So I'm going to feed these peelings to my chickens because they're going to love it. The first day, what I did is got everything out of the freezer, piled it up where it would stay nice and cold and not spoil on me. And then today, so they've sat for 12 to 15 hours. So today, this is not on. I just use this for storage. Today, what I'm going to do is run it through my food mill. You can use one of those little pan food mills if you want to. You can do that. Or you can just do it like this, core it, cut the bad spots off, and peel it.
and it'll work just fine. And then cook it down. In the summertime, when you're putting these tomatoes in your gallon jugs to store in the freezer, you'll want to wash and dry them, and that's when you should core them, and that's what I should have done, but I didn't. And so I'm having to core them now. I'm making tomato sauce is what I'm making. When I've got so many tomatoes, I didn't count how many bags I put in here. I'll count those in the sink as I do them. But today what I'm doing is running it through the food mill. I'm going to separate what liquid is down in the bottom of this, strain it, put it in a pan, and I'm putting all the juice in the refrigerator and saving it till tomorrow. So it'll be another day of canning. You can see that's still frozen. And the peeling just slides right off. Look at that. Peeling just slides right off. So even if you don't have one of these machines, you can do your peeling and your tomatoes this way. It's so easy. This right here just peeled right off. So here you can see I've got my peelings, and I'm going to put them right here. I've got my tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the hopper and get those ready. And we're just going to run these that I've done, that I've peeled and cored. We're going to run them and just let you see how that works. Oh, I guess I better get that bowl back up there. Okay, one is reverse and one is on.
You only use the reverse button if you get jammed, like if it gets the seeds and everything gets clogged up. So the hopper, which is the bowl that holds the tomatoes, has a small hole that goes down into the rest of it, and that's where the strainer is. And you'll see me holding the plunger, and I'm just pushing the tomatoes through. As you can see, it doesn't take much to make me happy.
You can see where the tomato juice is coming out here, and the cores and everything are coming out in here.
So here I'm just showing you a quick time lapse where it goes faster, and it shows you on the left side it's where the peelings and seeds are coming out, and it separates them from the juice and the pulp. So this is an electric strainer. I started out with a food mill, just a pan with a blade in it. That's how I started out years and years ago. Then I went to a Victoria, which I absolutely loved, and then I bought this.
So before we start the machine, I want to tell you about these little tomatoes. I'm telling you, these little tomatoes make the best tomato sauce. I've made them several times just out of the tomatoes in my freezer. These over here are quite frozen, and these are more thawed out that were in the sink, so I'm probably going to work from the sink. And you can see the liquid down in here. I'm not going to throw that liquid away.
This is another reason I like to freeze the tomatoes. It separates the liquid from the tomato. And I'm saving this liquid in case our tomato sauce is too thick, which is usually not the case, and then we could add that to it. I'm going to continue working here. I'm not going to take y'all all the way through this, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm just running my tomatoes through the food mill.
Now, if you get seeds in it, and this does have seeds in it, and you don't want seeds, you'll have to run it back through this machine or strain it in a strainer, which is going to get a lot of your pulp. So this is juice and pulp. Let me show it to you. This is juice and pulp. You can see that, which is going to make absolutely delicious tomato sauce.
As I fill each bowl, what I'm doing is taking a larger container with a lid, and I'm going to place it in the refrigerator in my garage, and that way it can sit. Now, if you're doing just a small amount of tomatoes, whether they're fresh or frozen, you don't have to wait 2 or 3 days to do this. But with my schedule and what all's going on in my life, I'm doing different steps on different days. So I still did see seeds, so I decided what I'm going to do is after I get all the sauce done, I'll run it all back through using the finer strainer. So remember, when you see me doing this, this is several hours of work. This is not just this few minutes you're seeing on the video.
There's my sweet hunter. So, sweet hunter, I have 2 things to ask you. One, take all these scraps to the chickens, and my trash needs emptied. Can't do without a good man. Can you handle that?
I'd love to.
Okay.
And here we go again. I believe this is our 3rd-gallon jar. Did you know that tomatoes are 95% water? I wanted to show you what it looked like from the top, but it's hard to hold a camera and do this at the same time. So you're probably saying, I get it, Val, I get it. I understand what it's doing, but I want to make it real clear. It doesn't matter if you use a manual pan with the blade in it, the food mill, I used it for years and years and years, or an electric machine like this. It doesn't matter. The results are the same. You're separating the peelings and seeds from the pulp and the juice. The pulp and the juice will make our tomato sauce. And even as I'm editing this video and watching this video, I'm still amazed at how this works. And I believe this is our 4th gallon.
We're moving on to this one. We've got both of those sinks full of tomatoes done. And this, you can see the ice right here. You can still see this frozen. So I'm using one of my bowls and this colander, and I'm going to, here's my scrap bowl that Sweet Hunter took to the chickens. How'd they like the scraps, Sweet Hunter? Eat it up? Good.
Can you imagine that these tomatoes have been sitting out that long and they're still frozen? But if you want to thaw them out a little bit faster, you can run warm water over them, peel them quickly, core them quickly, and I like to cut them in 1-inch little pieces to put in the hopper. I really like doing this method with the frozen tomatoes. The one thing I like the most is the fact that I can choose when I want to do them. And normally I would have done it back in the winter, but we've had a lot going on since about September, since Sweet Hunter's surgery. We just had a lot going on. So, but I'm getting it done, and that's the important thing. And I've really enjoyed working with this on my time. So as you can see, these tomatoes have a lot of pulp. These were Cherokee purple tomatoes, big boys. These were a mixture of Romas, and they are a lot thicker. And that's where that liquid that we are saving comes in handy if it gets too thick. But most of the time, you don't have that problem, I promise you. So we started with frozen tomatoes that we left sitting out overnight. Then we made sure they were cored and run them through a food mill, which peeled and seeded them. And now we've got beautiful cold tomato sauce just waiting to be made. Just think how much healthier this has to be for us than what we buy on the store shelves. I bet in your pantry right now you have a can that you bought at the store of tomato sauce. Read how many things are in that can. And you'll see at the end of this video there's only 2 things in each jar. Now we've resorted to half-gallon jars to store these in until I can get back to canning them on the next day. If you're a canner, you know, like me, that when you get finished canning this canning project, you will be so proud of yourself. And it just gives you a sense of joy that you are providing something healthy for your family. You grew it and you're canning it.
Okay, well, that's day 2. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gallons of tomato juice. I kept 1 quart of liquid. I did use some of that when I was getting rid of the seeds. And I also, you will be able to see seeds in one of these because the screen stopped up on me. And I had to stop, wash it several times, and I got tired of it. So I put on the tomato thing. So this one has seeds, but that's it. So that is day 2. So don't go away. It's going to continue. I will keep these in the refrigerator, and then we'll can them on the 3rd day.
Hey y'all, okay, we're back. This is the third day. I've got all the sauce back out. It's been in the refrigerator. This is the tomato water. This is what ran off the tomatoes. I put some of it in the sauce, and you can actually see, if you look really close, you can see the liquid separating from the tomatoes. So, right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in a roaster. If you're just using a small amount of tomatoes to can, if you're only doing a small amount, it won't take the big roaster, it'll just take a pan. You can do it all in one day, but for me, this was 5 gallons of tomato sauce, and I wanted to spread it out over 3 days. 5 gallons of tomato sauce ready to go in the roaster. Tomato water I'm gonna put in the refrigerator if we need it. This is only to thin out the sauce if we need it. We're gonna cook this down for probably a couple of hours in the roaster. I've got the roaster over there next to the sink where I can pour it in, put my jars right in the sink. So let's get busy. I think it just turned out beautiful. You can see that one jar has seeds. The rest of them, there's very few seeds. So here I am just filling up the roaster. You'll find out later on that I had to put it on a pan in the stove. The roaster did not work fast enough for me. And yes, I'm talking to you and you don't hear me. You don't hear what I'm saying because my volume messed up. Of course, it happens all the time. But you know what I'm doing. I'm filling up the roaster. 5 gallons of gold here. So on this day, what we're doing is we're going to cook our sauce down. We're going to cook the liquid out of it. I have no idea how long it's going to take because this is a lot of sauce. I love this roasting pan. It's like a giant crock pot, but it never did come to a full boil. So in the roasting pan, it was just not boiling fast enough. So I put it in this stainless steel heavy bottom pan, and it's boiling really good. And I'm stirring as I go along. And this is just my pan that I use all the time for cooking. And it's not a real heavy bottom, but it's doing fine as long as you stir it. And what I'm wanting is I'm wanting this to cook down some because I want, not like paste, but I want it to be thicker than tomato juice. I've got my citric acid ready. You can also use bottled lemon juice. You can't use fresh lemons. It won't bring the acid high enough. And with citric acid or bottled lemon juice, it will guarantee that it will bring it high enough to water bath. And usually in tomato products, that's what you want to do. It won't affect the taste because by the time you get the spices in there and everything, when you get ready to cook it, it won't affect the taste at all. But we do want to be very safe. I go directly by the Val Canning book. So I follow instructions to the T. I'm making just a plain tomato sauce. It's not going to have anything in it except I may put some salt, and I'm not sure I'll even do that. These are my canners. So this one is Presto Digital Pressure Canner. It also doubles as a water bath canner. The other one is Fresh Tech by Ball, and it's a water bath canner. They're both electric, and I highly recommend both of them. The way we're making the tomato sauce with the frozen tomatoes today, you can do the same thing with your fresh tomatoes out of the garden this year. What we're doing here is we're going to boil it down at least halfway.
This is my favorite book to go by. They may have a new one out. This is the last one that I know of. I need to check and see. But this is a very good book to go by. And it's got tomato juice, tomato garden blend, tomato paste, tomato sauce, tomato soup. I can even make tomato soup from this sauce that I'm canning today. You can do an Italian blend, a Cajun blend, a Mexican blend for chili. Anyway, it has step by step how to do your tomatoes if you just want pure tomatoes. I mean, it's a great book. What I did to prepare my jars is I just washed them in hot soapy water. Then I have them in my canners heating up where you never want to put a hot product into a cold jar. So you want hot to hot and cold to cold. And so that's what we're doing. This one is just about ready, and I can tell it's cooked down about halfway. So this 5 gallons of juice we had, this 5 gallons of sauce we had, is not going to end up being 5 gallons. I can promise you that. But it's cooked down really, really good. I'm going to let it cook about 5 more minutes. This one's cooking down too. Yes, I've showed you before. It's my electric Hamilton Beach little kettle that heats up water in 90 seconds. In the canner I'm fixing to use, I will have to cover the jars with hot boiling water before I turn it on water bath.
Here, I just wanted to show you how I put the jars in the canners in the hot water and just let them sit and stay warm. Remember, hot to hot. Since the roaster wasn't doing its job, I wanted to show you the difference in a pot of sauce that's been cooking down, which is on the left, the one I'm stirring now. That's been cooking down for a couple of hours. And the one in the pan I just put in, and it hasn't started cooking yet. But you can see the difference. You can see the thickness.
I've washed my rings and I've got them here on a towel. I've got my citric acid out. I've got my jars heating, and I'm not going to put salt in mine because this is just a basic tomato sauce recipe. Salt is for flavor. It's not for preserving like some people think. So I'm going to quickly get these hot jars out, and then I'll fill the jars and show you what's next. Okay, I told you before, I'm using citric acid. We're going to put 1/4 of a teaspoon in each jar, and that's going to bring it up to the high acid that we need it to be at. I'm not putting salt in here, as I said before. It is for taste, it's not for preserving. So we've got 1/4 teaspoon of the citric acid. If you don't have citric acid and you want to use bottled lemon juice, remember you can't use fresh because there's no way to judge that acid level in it. If you want to use bottled lemon juice, you put 1 tablespoon in these pint jars. If you're using quarts, you'll want to use 2 tablespoons. If you're using quart jars and you want to use the citric acid, you would use 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid. I want to show you this tomato sauce, and you can tell how thick it is. Now, some people like it thicker than that, but when I cook, if I'm cooking a pot of chili, I don't want it to be real thick like tomato paste. So this is the way I like it, cooking it halfway down. So we've got our citric acid in each of our jars, and we're just going to stir this down at the bottom. You want all that good stuff, and we're going to fill our jars. This is hot jars. We're going to fill them up to a 1/2 inch headspace. And that is hot.
If you have never canned before and this is a desire of your heart, don't be scared to do this. Just get that ball canning book that I was telling you about and just read, study, and
Remember,
then
this is hot.
start. You've got to start somewhere. When Sweet Hunter and I were first married, he did it the old-fashioned way, and he taught me how his granny did it, and I'm telling you, we made many mistakes. But look at us now. We can make just about anything. It's not that she did any canning wrong. Believe me, she preserved a lot of food. I've ate many meals where she preserved food. She was like one of the smartest people I know. But back in the day, they didn't go by a ball canning book. They went by the way their grandmothers taught them. And I just like to be safe.
So next we're going to get the air out, and there's probably not any in there, but we want to make sure that there's not. And we want to check the headspace. I'm not real picky on that. I don't measure it or anything like that, but you can. Isn't it pretty? Now the next thing we're going to do is just wipe our lids off. We don't want anything to keep these from sealing. A lot of people just do it on the top. I do it all the way around. If you have more in one and less in another, you can just take a spoon and move it over. So many people say that you don't have to heat the lids up anymore. I still do it. So I'm just going to put each lid on the jars. I wash my rings and my lids. When you put your ring on, you want to just not use your wrist, but do finger tight because it's going to expand in there as it's canning. We're water bath canning today. So finger tight. You'll need your water to be an inch above your jars. So if you need more water, add boiling water. And I failed to show you, but you put your lid on, whether it's on the stove or an electric one. I will not be using the pressure gauge for pressure canning. We're water bath canning in this electric Presto digital pressure canner. And we're not pressure canning. And we've got it set for 35 minutes and it's heating up. 35 minutes for pints, 40 for quarts.
So in the first canner, we have pints. In this second canner, we're doing quarts. So this is the time that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is the time that you're feeling that feeling of joy that all the work you've done, all the time you've put in, all the mess you've made is worth it. There's just something about knowing that you're the one that put forth the time, the effort, and the investment to bring about the end result of whatever you're canning, just like us today, making tomato sauce. It is pure satisfaction in a jar. When you water bath can, you start the timer when the boiling starts, when it's a full boil. And then when it's done,
take the lid off. And you do this with any canner, even on the stove, and open the lid away from you because there's lots of steam. And then we want to leave these sitting in the water for 20 minutes just to acclimate to the room. This one's still going. How long has it got to go, Sweet Hunter? This one? 27 minutes. He's got the timer on this one. And then we'll come back and do the same. Okay, this one finished about 5 minutes ago. I came and turned it off when Sweet Hunter told me the timer went off. And I'm going to take the lid off now and let it sit for 20 minutes, just like I did that one. These are ready. Let me get this towel. These are ready to come out and sit in the room. Look how pretty. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Beautiful.
So we ended up with 8 pints and 7 quarts that we canned. And then see that one with the lid, the white lid? That one was left over. It didn't fit in the canner. So I'm going to put it in the refrigerator and we'll make something out of it on the next video, which will be tomorrow. I love to shop from my own pantry shelves. It's so much fun. And now the second canner is ready to come out. Did you hear it ping? When you're a canner, that's one of the sweetest sounds you'll ever hear. There's something about this time right here that makes me want to sing a song. And it's like, you think of that song, let's see, what is it? It's like, look what the Lord has done. Look what the Lord has done. And then I always think of Philippians 4:13 that says we can do all things through Christ. And then there's my all-time favorite verse, Proverbs 31:27, that says she looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. And I would say we've been pretty busy today.
This is truly a labor of love. You've got to love it to do it. You've got to be proud of your work. Tomorrow, we'll take the rings off. They'll be completely cool. I'll let them sit 24 hours right here. Won't move them. We'll take the rings off. We will make sure every one of them have sealed, and then we'll wash the jars and dry them, and they'll be ready to put on the shelf. And we've got all this tomato sauce to make whatever we want.
So this is the next day, and you can see I'm removing the rings. Now, a lot of people don't understand this, but if you put something on your shelf and it happens to unseal, which is not unheard of, you would never know it if that ring is on. So I always take your rings off after the 24-hour period, after you make sure every jar is sealed. When I take my rings off, I take them right then and put them in the top rack of my dishwasher or hand wash them. Sometimes if you don't put white vinegar in your canner, your jars and rings and lids will get a white film over the top of them. That's one reason I like to wash my jars, but you really need to wash your jars with warm, soapy water anytime you get them out of the canner. That way, if anything at all is on your jars, you've got them clean and ready to go on your pantry shelf. Make sure and don't remove your rings until 24 hours later. Don't wash your jars until they're completely cool the next day. Then I just dry them really good. Then you want to make sure and label your jars, telling what it is and the date you processed it. So for you that have not saw my pantry shelves, I do have open shelving in my kitchen, and I absolutely love it because I can see everything I have on my shelves. When I was young and interested in canning, I didn't have a mentor to actually teach me. We have YouTube now. If you don't mind, like, subscribe, and share our channel so we can help others know how to do these skills. Thank y'all for watching.
We've got all this tomato sauce to make whatever we want. Y'all go cook something.